What is up YouTube, and today we have another tier list for you guys. It's going to be for PvP, featuring 5-star RGB units. And we're mostly doing this video because the meta has definitely shifted a lot in the past few months, even weeks I'd say. And also because we have the new World Arena season with the new Guild Wars season coming, so might as well just do this now. So basically we have 6 separate tiers. We have the meta tier, we have the decent tier, the OK tier, the niche tier, the cleave tier, and the buff please tier. So pretty simple, right? Meta tier, these units are very strong. You'll see them pretty much all the time. Decent, these units are going to be, just decent, I guess. Not as strong as the meta units, but still picked quite frequently. The OK units, these units do see some play, but there might be better units out there. Then we have the niche units. You can only really ever pick these in certain or specific scenarios. The cleave tier, for you cleavers out there. These units are only used in cleave, otherwise there's not really a point to pick them. And the buff please tier, these units are either only good in PvE or they're just bad and they need a buff. So let's get started. So first off we have Abigail. We're going to put her in the niche tier. Pretty good. Injury unit, honestly I kind of want to move her up. I think she's okay now, mostly because you can use her very well in Guild Wars offense. And in RTA she's good if you're protecting a single unit in the backline. But I think OK is where she's at. I can't really put her in decent because she does have counterplay and a lot of counters, but for now we'll put her in OK. Next I have Albedo. Honestly, I want to put her in buff because even though she is an anti-cleave unit, and that is technically her niche, she still can get cleaved very easily. It's pretty sad. So because of that, I'm going to put her in buff please. Like, she gets completely destroyed by like Summertime Assyrias and Zeo cleaves and stuff like that with Requiem Rwana. Because you need to crit her to actually proc the passive, which can quote-unquote stop cleave. But there's a lot of cleavers that don't actually crit, so gonna put her in the buff please. Even though she's niche, like, you're not gonna really be able to use her. Next we have Valencia, pretty decent injury user, pretty much it. All she does is do injuries, that's what she's good for. She just is outshined by other injury units in the meta, like ML Shu. A mid cleave unit, very good CR pusher. Aramintha, honestly, I like using this unit a lot in RTA with Abyssal Crown. She has so many chances to stun, but that's pretty troll, so I'm going to put her in buff please. So yeah, she definitely needs a buff. She does see, like, honestly I could see her being viable with the Abyssal Crown buff, but too much RNG, so I'm going to put her in buff please. Next we have Arya. I'd say decent unit in this current meta, and let me explain why. I think with the changes to RTA, with the ban protection, she's actually a lot better because you can't just ban her, right? You need to actually respond to her with counters. And the counters to her are really not that great by themselves, right? The best one is probably like Rimuru, or even Midnight Galilius, but even those two units have a limited usability because they get countered by other units pretty hard, right? So because of that, any unit that you can protect in the 3rd pick slot that, has counters that are easily counterable, I think are automatically going to be decent or at least okay, because it really just, draws a huge response from the last 2 picks. So we're going to put her in the decent tier. Arunka, pretty niche. She is a pretty good barrier counter, but besides that, yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty good in like single target aggro cleave. Ball and Sazan needs a buff. Baiken needs a buff for PvP. Basar also needs a buff. Bihu is like pretty niche. He's pretty good against like Navy Captain Landian with burn comps, but besides that, nothing too special. If you think he's any higher, it's pretty copium, so I'm gonna put him in the niche tier. Bellona did get buffed, but still pretty trash in PvP at least. Benamaru, I'm going to put him in the niche tier, only good against extra attack units for Guild Wars. In RTA, you literally just don't press your extra attack skill and just S1 him and he just dies, so yeah. New unit, Brigida, she's not out yet as of this video's release, but from what I'm seeing, she's going to be a good niche unit to counter units such as like Chinua, so we'll put her in the niche tier. Blooming Lidica, cleave unit, Bomb Monokana, not used, Brig, not used, Biblis, a niche unit, but honestly, not that great. She's only really used to stop, counter attackers, but yeah, she is used there. Cecilia also in the buff please, not really used in PvP. Celine, I'm going to put in decent. I think, like I said, with the 3rd pick protection, if you pick her there against like the ML Politis teams or like Conquer Ilias, she's really annoying actually, especially after her buffs. So we're going to put her in the decent tier. She is actually pretty strong now. Cerise needs a buff. Sermia needs a buff. Charles needs a buff. Even though these units might be used in PvE, like I said, it's a PvP tier list, so Charlotte needs a buff. Honestly, like, she was one of the best AoE damage dealers, but she's kind of outshined now. Actually, I'll put her in, like, honestly, I'm gonna put her in OK, because she has insta, like, or always crit, so it's actually decent versus Navy Captain Landy. But honestly, I do think she kind of needs a buff. Chloe is going to be in the buff please PvE unit. Shu, I want to put in okay. She's pretty good against units such as Shaltir. She's okay against Janua, right, and stuff like that. Just very good against fire units. With Robbie's buff, Fire Robbie's buff, she's actually okay as well. But Shu kind of just checks her and prevents her from being super meta, so we'll put her there. Command Model Laika, we'll put her in cleave as well. Very fast opening cleave unit, something like this. Destina is decent, I'd say. I don't think she's super strong anymore because she is pretty slow and she gets countered by a lot of units, but still a decent soul lever if you want some healing and revives and cleansing. Diane here, she is not that great. I'm going to put her in okay just because she does have CR push and a very good buff. I think she is underrated, but you know, nothing above okay. Dizzy, only really used in PvE for Abyss. Ada is a pure cleave unit. Edward Elric, I'm going to put him somewhere around here. Honestly, you can maybe put him a little higher against some cleave teams, but against like non-cleave, he kind of just falls behind. He gets overwhelmed with debuffs. Elena, pretty niche unit against cleave as well. Elgos, pure cleave unit, very, very good in cleave actually. Elfelt needs a buff as well. Elvira is pretty niche. Honestly, I think she's not that great anymore. You can only really use her against like Navy Captain Landy, but even then she can lose. So we'll put her somewhere here. Amelia honestly needs a buff as well. She kind of just gets outshined by a mid right now. Ervalen, yeah, he got buffed, but he's terrible. Fairy Tail Tenebria is actually a decent unit if you pick her into a fully slow team. If she gets her S3 off and there's no way to, you know, remove it, then you kind of just win. Flan is a very good cleave unit. We'll put her there. Fumir, it's so hard to make her work. Like, I want to put her in needs a buff, but if she does work in like Guild Wars offense, she's very good. So we'll put her in the niche tier for Guild Wars. Haste needs a buff as well. Really needs a buff actually for PvP. Holiday Euphine needs a buff. Honestly, she is usable sometimes, but I don't really like the evasion aspect that you have to rely on, and she just gets, you know, outvalued by other cleansers. Hwayoung, really want to put her in needs a buff, like buff please, but technically you can use her in Guild Wars offense and she works. Ilyanov also is okay as an injury dealer, very good on Guild Wars offense as well, or Guild Wars defense as well, so we're going to put her here. Saria, not that good. Jacko is purely for clears. You basically just pick her with anything with debuffs and she just one-shots people and stuns people, very annoying. Janua is meta, no doubt about it. This unit is super, super annoying, especially paired with ML Politis, but even without her, he is very good against cleave. He can solo carry, and if you protect him in the third pick spot now, and you pick like Karina before him, one of his biggest counters, he is very strong. The only way to counter him really is stuns, and you can just pair him with like, you know, a lot of cleansers, and he ends up being very powerful. I think DPS units have definitely shot up in value because you don't have to draft 2 damage dealers anymore in RTA. You can draft 1, just put it in your third, you know, protection slot, and just ban whatever counters them, and then just draft a full team comp that will protect your carry or, you know, synergize with your carry. Kane definitely needs a buff. Cowrick is for cleavers, similar to how Command Model Laika works, but a little bit weaker. Kairon is anti-cleave. I'm going to put him somewhere in here, very niche. Ken is not that great. Kisei is for Guild Wars defense. You'll see her sometimes. We'll put her in the niche tier. Crow is okay. I don't think he's anything above that just because there's just a lot better knights. There was a meme with Crow from the start of the game's release that he's the most balanced unit in the game. Actually, nowadays he's not really balanced. He's like a little underpowered, but we'll put him in okay because he's pretty good in Guild Wars offense, and you can still technically pick him in RT and make him work, especially against like Janua comps, I guess, if you want to, you know, pick an Ice Knight, but not really a point. Laya, definitely meta. I don't know if she's better than Janua. I'm going to say she is because she's way more flexible. She does get countered by injury, but she does counter a lot of, you know, very powerful units such as Lua and Nogwal, and she also synergizes with them very, very well. Whereas Janua doesn't really, you know, synergize except with ML Politics. He's just like a strong unit. Laya has some very scary combos, and you can actually use her as a solo DPS, as a turn 2 player with like Karina paired with her, and she is super strong. She can, you know, delete units every time her S3 is up, which is pretty powerful with the soul burn, so definitely a meta unit. Landy definitely needs a buff. She used to be like a meta, but with how the meta shaped up since her buffs, yeah, just not really seen. Lethe, we're also going to put her in the niche tier. Very good against Navy Captain Landy, just slow teams, but she does get heavily countered by injury and just cleave in general and just fast units. Litica needs a buff as well. Fire Lilius, good on Guild Wars defense. She's super strong there, paired with Senya and like Ran or even Zia or whatever you want. And she's also decent if you have her on Ancient Dragon Legacy to counter Lua and Noggle in RTA. Lilibet needs a buff as well. Lua will put her in decent. I don't think she's dropped down to okay yet. She used to be super strong, but Lua still is very good. The only problem is, yeah, Laya kind of counters her, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, I'm going to keep her in decent. I kind of want to put her in meta because I still think she's strong, but Laya's like first picked or like second rotation a lot if you're not cleaving, so it makes your value drop down a little. Next we have Ludwig, not that great. Luluka, not that great either. Luna, not that great either. Melissa, not that great either. Midnight Galilius, definitely a decent unit. We'll put her somewhere around here. Yes, she's used for only aggressive players, but Midnight Galilius counters a lot, so like a lot of units. So if you're like playing primarily as a turn 2 player and you have your Midnight Galilius built, if you face another turn 2 player who's tanking down with you, you can pick her and she just, kills a unit right off the bat. It is very hard to deal with, very annoying, and ends up being a ban a lot of the times. Milim, I want to say she needs a buff, but she does counter like Guiding Light users and Stealth users, so we'll put her in niche, although she's not that great. More kind of similar to, not Life, Ilyanov, just heavy on injuries, but yeah, that's all he really does, but honestly, it's not that bad. Miui, I'm going to put down here in buff, please. She is a cleave unit, but there are way better openers. Next, we have Noggle. I think this is another meta unit. She's very powerful. Better than Lua, mostly because her S2 and S3 are just better versions of Lua's, honestly. Especially because they're not non-attack skills, so you can actually not get countered by a lot of units. So Lua gets like hard countered by like Celine, right? But Noggle can actually just S3 and just not S2, which might not be great all the times, but you can do that and reset the cooldown of Celine. So I think she's up here. Oshimi's Luca, somewhere in the decent tier, very good cleanser. Does get countered by Emma Politis, but still is a decent unit. I'm gonna put her somewhere around here. Pavel is a cleave unit that really relies on souls, but honestly, yeah, just not really worth it anymore. I think not really easy to cleave with him, so I'm gonna put him down there. Peyra, one of the better cleave units. I still think she's very, very good right now, so we'll put her somewhere here. Politis, definitely a decent, I want to say meta unit almost at this point, but I'll put her somewhere around here. Like, she's very good against all the non-attack skill users. We have like Conquer Ilias, you have like such as ML Politis, she's very good disruptive unit. Ram, PvE unit. Ran, best cleaver in the game, probably always will be. He's so strong, so we'll put him in the cleave tier. Ravi, I want to say she's decent now, but she gets checked by Shu. But honestly, yeah, I'm just gonna put her here. She counters Navy Captain Landy, right? She is pretty decent against Janua. You just S3, hope it stuns, and you just kill him, proc his passive. So we'll put him somewhere around here. Put her, and I think it's good. Ray, pretty niche unit, good against heavy debuffs, but hard to use him honestly. But we'll put him there. Ram is an anti-cleave unit. We'll put her somewhere around here. She's actually pretty decent as an anti-cleave unit still. Very, very slept on. Rimuru, definitely a decent unit. Somewhere around like here. Mostly because she counters, Ikarina, Arya, stuff like that. And he does well against Midnight Galilius as well. Riza definitely needs a buff. This unit is doo-doo in PvP. Rowana is going to be somewhere here. Like, I want to put her in okay. I don't even want to put her in decent. I guess I have to put her above Destina though, so we'll put her in decent because she is good against, heavy counterattack teams and stuff like that. But a lot of the counterattack teams, such as like Navy Captain Landy, they still win against her. But other ones like such as Lone Crescent Bologna can struggle, so we'll put her in decent and maybe drop down Destina, to be honest. I don't think they're on the same level. Roy Mustang, definitely a decent unit. I think he's also heavily slept on. He's just pretty weak against ice units, especially like Arya and stuff like that. But he does a ton of damage, like one of the highest damage capabilities in the game, which is why we'll keep him here. Also very tanky. Seaside Bologna, honestly, I think with Janua, Seaside Bologna is actually like not bad. I actually have been playing her a lot, even though it's preseason, so we'll put her somewhere here. I feel like she deserves a spot like here. Honestly, if you put her on like a lifesteal tanky build with full attack and like no crit, she's actually very solid, it feels like. Senya, also going to be decent, I think, or at least okay. She's going to be very good for Guild Wars defense, but in RTH, she does get countered somewhat, but she's pretty decent, I'd say. Sez will put in the buff, please. Terrible unit for PvP right now, even after his buffs. Shaltir, I want to put her somewhere around here. I think she is good against Aiden, right? She's very good against, health scalers, even like Laya, but she's not like overwhelmingly broken, but she's still very strong, I'd say, on the strong side. Sharoon, pretty niche. injury unit, but you know, maybe she's okay, but people just don't play her right now. Shuna also is a pretty niche cleanser, so we'll put her somewhere around here. Sigurd, you know, buff please. Soul, buff please. Summer Break Charlotte, a cleave unit. Summertime Assyria, also a cleave unit. Teiyu, niche unit, very good against, what's his name now? Very good against ML Politis, and also good with her, so there's that. Tamarin, only a PvE unit. Tenebria, honestly, I've been playing with her with Abyssal Crown. She seems kind of good, so I'm gonna put her in niche. Tywin, I've seen people use him as well to abuse the backline passive thing. We'll put him in niche. Vildred Cleave, very good because, of course, of the imprint. Violet is also going to be niche evasion unit. Vivian, not really used in PvP, so we'll put her in buff. Euphine, used to be good with CO, but not really used anymore, so we'll put her down there. Eula will always be, in my mind, okay, at least. She might be even decent to some people, but I think there's just better knights out there right now, and it's really hard to play slow. You kind of need some aggression. What you're going to kind of see is like everything in decent or above is kind of aggressive because the aggression meta is just better besides like Laya. So I think she is okay. She's a little bit slow, kind of gets rolled by like cleave comp still if they have a lot of AoE and CC. Yuna, yeah, PvE unit, not really good. Zahawk, I'm going to put him in decent. I think last piece Karin is a little bit better now, but still a decent aiding counter. Still good in Guild Wars offense, maybe even like higher up, somewhere around here, but we'll keep him somewhere here. Zeno, this guy, I don't even know what the hell he does. I don't even know, so we'll put him down there. Igiselle, cleave unit for sure. If you actually pair her with like something like an Amelia or a mid, she can be okay. Only really recommend her for Guild Wars offense though. I've seen some people use her in RTA, especially like the serious, like super serious cleavers, so there's that. Ikrina, meta now with Janua's release. She used to be like somewhere here, honestly, but after Janua's release and like Ravi being buffed and Shaltir, like she skyrocketed up in value. Ningning, barrier inversion unit, pretty terrible, honestly. She needs a buff. And then Winter, I want to say niche, but I'm gonna put her in niche. There's a lot of non-attack skill users, so you know she ends up being high value. Honestly, I've seen people using against Laya as well to stun lock them when their S2 is down to prevent them from S3ing. I've seen her used heavily against Janua. Actually, she kind of hard cucks Janua. I'll put her in okay. Like I think she's better now. Like I've always been a fan of Winter, so we'll put her there for now. But yeah, this is the final tier list for the 5-star RGB PvP list. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. This is based on my experiences in preseason. I've been playing a couple RTA games here and there. Don't take it too seriously though. I'll be re-updating this in the near future once the season starts. This is mostly going to be for preseason. So yeah, let me know about your opinions, and I'll see you guys next video.